Good evening. I'm Susan Snyder, principal of the Northampton School. Please join Sydney and Corbin as they lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome. Thank you all for attending tonight's School Board Candidate Night sponsored by PAL and Student Government. We thank both groups for their support and the town for the live broadcast. Thank you also to Becca Carlson and Carly Herlihy, our student government advisors, John Savastano and the video crew from Town Hall, and our current school board members, Tom Von Jess, the chair, Martin Tavishian, Danielle Strader, Caitlin Belanger, and Allison Ryder. The Northampton School Board will have 4 open seats out of 5 for the March 8th election. We are pleased to offer this evening as a way for the community to get to know the candidates. Members of the NHS student government have generated questions, and each candidate will have the opportunity to answer each question within a 2-minute time frame. Running for the school board seats are, and there are different seats for different amounts of years. So there are 2 open seats that are for 3-year terms, and running for those seats are Michael Jendray and Caitlin Belanger. There's 1 open seat for a 2-year term. Running for that seat is Lisa Gegallis and Kirsten Larsen-Schultz. And there is 1 seat open for a 1-year term, and running for that seat are Tori Marsh and Marianne Von Jess. Unfortunately, Lisa Gegallis is unable to be with us in person tonight due to COVID-19. She will find a way to disseminate her answers to the questions that are shared tonight at a later date. There's also an open seat for the Northampton representative on the Winnicott High School Board. There are 2 candidates for this seat. The primary focus of this event is to provide an opportunity for Northampton School Board candidates to speak and answer questions generated with a focus on the Northampton School. That said, we would like to extend the opportunity for the 2 candidates who are running for the WHS Board to introduce themselves to the audience. The candidates are Tamara Lay and Henry Marsh. They will not participate in the Q&A portion hosted by the NHS Student Government. The Northampton School Board candidates' introductions are written in their own words and will be read by a student government representative. Mrs. Herlihy will be the timekeeper, letting the candidates know by the raising of a yellow card that they have 30 seconds left to complete their response. When the allotted time for the response has ended, she'll raise a red card, just like sports. The student government representatives here with us tonight are Fenway Schooler, Julie Allen, Emily Hyatt, Jameson LaFleur, Sydney Caselius, Corbin Garofalo, and Rachel Dion. And I'm going to hand it right over to them now. So I think Julie's up first.
Good evening. I am Julie Allen, Student Government Vice President. We will begin the evening by inviting each of the 2 candidates from Northampton for the Winnicott High School Board position to the podium. They each have up to 5 minutes to introduce themselves to the voters. Ms. Tamara Lay, would you like to begin?
Thank you. I always love being first. So first of all, I want to thank PAL, the Northampton staff, the Northampton student government, and the town for letting us use Town Hall tonight. In 5 minutes or less, which may be a stretch for me, I'm going to give you my who, what, where, how, when, and why I want to be your Northampton representative on the Winnicott High School Board. So who am I? Most of you know me as a mom, as a civil rights advocate for people who experience disabilities, and as a champion for education. My mom was a teacher, and my dad a small business owner. Education was at the center of every goal I had growing up. I have a bachelor's degree in communications and a master's degree in international relations. My professional life continued to revolve around education, beginning as a teacher in China, followed by a career as a TV programming executive in public broadcasting, and as a member and officer of a number of nonprofit educational organizations. Recently, I completed a leadership education program in neurodevelopmental disabilities through UNH. So why am I running? Public service is a part of who I am and who my family inspires me to be. Contributing to something greater than myself gives me a sense of purpose. And at this time, our public schools and our teachers in particular need people in New Hampshire cities and towns to rally, to stand up and say, yes, I am with you. I support you, and you are a vital part of the success of my community. So where have I been? After 6 years on the Northampton School Board and SAU Joint Board, 6 budget cycles, 4 administrations, and 3 teacher contract negotiations, I just hadn't seen enough. So I ran for the Northampton Budget Committee to better hone my skills and understanding of the concerns taxpayers have in supporting our schools with very, very little state support. From there, I challenged myself further, serving as your state representative on the House Education Committee, fighting for public schools for 4 years. You may remember your trip to the State House, where we took a tour together. When COVID hit, my best move was a pivot back home for remote school with my 2 favorite students. So the what's important to me? 90% of students in New Hampshire are enrolled in public schools. We cannot afford to let 90% of our students have a compromised education. As the Northampton rep on the Winnicott School Board, I assure every single student who comes through their doors has access to the learning table and the supports that they need to make it to graduation, and the quality of education they need to fly after graduation. What's important to me is that you as students are safe and respected and challenged to become your best selves. Whether this through academia, sports, arts, fine arts, performing arts, ROTC, day school, night school, or SST, you doing better for yourselves is my motivation, and why I'm grateful to be in a position to run for this seat. In conclusion is my when, I see my 30. I need your parents and your neighbors to vote for me on March 8th. I ask humbly for their vote and would be honored for each vote for Winnicott High School School Board. If they are filling out absentee ballots or have questions before March 8th, feel free to reach out to me. My campaign email is on a card back in the hallway there. I'm on Facebook, in the PAL phone book, or you can send questions home with my campaign advisor and your fellow classmate, Colette, who's sitting in the back here. Thank you very much. I was going to say I yield the rest of my time, but I think I nailed it.
Thank you. Mr. Henry Marsh, it is now your turn.
My My name is Henry Marsh. I grew up in Northampton and went to Winnacunnet, graduated from Winnacunnet, and let me get my notes out. After high school, I went to App State on an athletic scholarship, got my master's degree from the University of Maine, and as an athlete, I was a national champion. I was an Olympic finalist, 12-time AAU champion, and I'm in the USA Wrestling Hall of Fame, the National Collegiate Wrestling Hall of Fame, and this weekend I'll be inducted into the University of New Hampshire Hall of Fame. I competed in the Scottish Games and was the outstanding wrestler in the Scottish Games, competing for the United States. And I coached wrestling at UNH for 12 years and several New England champs, and had three national champions, and I guess 12 All-Americans, 2 women, and the 10 men. We had a women's team and a men's team. In moving on from athletics, in Northampton, I was a selectman in several boards, including a library trustee and on the safety board. When I was in the legislature, I co-sponsored the Clean Water Act, and that was just one of the other ones was the giving the firemen a $100,000 death benefit if they died in the line of duty, which the policemen had, the firemen did not have. And I was in that selection with the governor. I worked in the Rye schools for 30 years and was an administrator, and also selected to be on the New England schools and colleges to set the middle school standards. I was a Rye Beach commissioner at the beach, obviously, and let's see. Actually, in Northampton, as I say, I grew up here. I met a lot of famous people in Northampton. Had daily chats with Ogden Nash, with my good friend Peter Fuller, and others. Some of you may know that Peter had the Kentucky Derby winner, and you might see the sign down here on Atlantic Avenue. My 3 children went to school here, and they all attended universities. Now I'll go to the typing part of it. Probably read that better. In 2020-21, a year where we saw the dreaded coronavirus, remote learning, and a superintendent leave mid-year. And it took a while to get the students and the teachers back into high gear, which we have. Now, as my tenure as a school board member, I'm proud to relay the following accolades. Winnacunnet was listed as a top 100 schools in the nation by Best Schools, received the New Hampshire High School of Excellence Award by what is called the New Hampshire Eddies, and constantly ranked as one of the top high schools in New England in the top 10 by U.S. News and World Report. Other awards are the New England Partners in Education Blue Ribbon Award, which we've won basically every year in the last 10 years, and also the New Hampshire Gold Circle Award for community and business partnerships. Winnacunnet has started their 10-year accreditation Winnicott is a fully accredited high school. And I guess I'm going to have to leave at this time. But I do want to mention, on Tuesday, our board will have a special meeting to decide whether we're going to have masks in the school. We were going to do it last week, but one of our board members was not at the meeting. So on Tuesday. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now be introducing the Northampton School Board candidates.
Hello, I am Emily Hyatt, Trimester 2 School Board Representative, and I have the honor of introducing Miss Caitlin Belanger. Kate Belanger is excited to run for the open 3-year seat here on the Northampton School Board. She is a mom to 3 children, one of whom is currently a student here at Northampton School. Miss Belanger has been both a teacher and an administrator throughout the last 15 years and loves nothing more than seeing children laugh, play, explore, and learn. She is running for this position because she believes in supporting and giving back to the community she lives in. She wants to support teachers, students, and the future direction of the SAU. With her background in education, Ms. Belanger thinks she can lend a unique lens when it comes to making decisions and discussing current initiatives in education. She tries her best to understand as an educator, a parent, and also a community member, and believes in making information as transparent to the community as possible. Ms. Belanger believes the school is at the heart of any community and will dedicate her time and energy to support the amazing work already happening at NHS.
My name is Corbin Garofalo, and I'm the 7th grade school board representative. And I have the honor of introducing Miss Lisa Gegallis. Miss Gegallis is a proud graduate of Northampton School in Winnicott and is called the Seacoast of New Hampshire, her home for the past 30 years. She has 3 children who attend Northampton School. She has one in 6th grade and twins in 3rd grade. She works as a clinic research nurse at the National Institute of Health, conducting pediatric asthma and allergy trials. On the weekend, you'll likely find her on the sideline of a soccer field, basketball court, or walking her dog Colt, who happens to strongly believe he is the unofficial NHS school mascot. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Cindy Casilius, Student Government Secretary. I have the honor of introducing Mr. Michael Jendray. Mr. Jendray has taught students of all levels for the last 35 years. He has translated several books from French, has written on an academic content in the humanities, and will be a new and needed voice to enhance quality education in the Northampton School District. He's a caring and dedicated educator with excellent skills in mentoring and facilitating communication. His expertise on competency and literacy has been valued by top educators in New England. He's taught both locally and internationally.
Hello, I am Fenway Schooler Student Government President, and I have the honor of introducing Miss Tori Marsh. Miss Marsh is a 3rd-generation resident of Northampton. She attended Northampton School when it was still named Northampton Elementary, and helped petition to have the name changed while in 8th grade. She is a graduate of Winnicott Trinity College and the School of the Museum of Fine Arts. Miss Marsh is an internationally shown artist, has written and directed an off-Broadway play, was a researcher at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City, art assistant to famed American minimalist art Sol LeWitt, opened restaurants for celebrity chefs Rocco DiSpirito and Iron Chef Morimoto. Served as head of North America for a global problem-solving service connected to the British royal family. Has lived in Germany and Spain, and for the last 13 years has run her own business in which she saves people's companies and lives. Having survived COVID 4 times in the past 2 years, there were 2 hospital systems doing clinical trials based on her personal treatment experiments for long COVID. Thankfully, she is able to be here in Northampton full-time and is happy to have the chance to give back to the community and school that gave her so much.
Hello, I am Jameson LaFleur, 8th grade representative, and I have the honor of introducing Miss Kirsten Larsen-Schultz. Miss Schultz, her husband Sean Schultz, and 8-year-old daughter here have lived in Northampton for the past 8 years. While their daughter was enrolled at NHS, Miss Schultz was an active volunteer with POW in the classroom and especially enjoyed participating in Forest Fridays. Ms. Schultz has been a WHS ELO community partner for the past 5 years, offering marketing internships and informational interviews to interested students. She has served as a member of the WHS Community Advisory Board since it was formed in 2017. Ms. Schultz always looks for ways to give back and be an active member of the community she strives to serve.
Hello, I am Rachel Dione, Student Government Treasurer, and I have the honor of introducing Mrs. Mary Ann Von Jess. Mrs. Von Jess has lived in Northampton for 15 years and is the mom of a Northampton School 8th grade student. She believes that volunteerism is so important for our school and our community. From 2015 to 2019, she served as the NHS PAL Treasurer and Co-Chair. She has spent the majority of her professional life in the health insurance industry. Currently, she is a broker manager in the Medicare division at Aetna CVS Health.
Good evening again. We have a list of 6 questions that were created in collaboration with the middle school social studies classes. Each candidate will have a maximum of 2 minutes to respond to each question. To rotate who answers each question, first, Ms. Carlson will call on the candidates as we proceed through each question. Let's begin. What motivated you to run for school board?
Hello. I currently am serving on the school board in like a short-term position where I was appointed a few months ago. What has catapulted me to want to run for a longer position in the 3-year seat is a few different things. I think that the best work you can do and what we want for our children, especially those we are educating, is to grow up to be active participants in our community. And one way to model that for my children is to do it myself. I fully believe that if you give back to the community you live in, it will only grow stronger. So I'm dedicated to Northampton School. And while I work in a neighboring SAU, I want to work in my community as well. I feel like I could offer a unique perspective. I know I talked about it a little bit in my biography or introduction there. I can view situations as a parent. I can see them as a community member. I can see them as an administrator and a teacher. And I think often on school boards, educators are not represented as much because sometimes the lens isn't there. So I would like to offer that and think that, I can help us move forward wearing a variety of hats.
I don't have my card yet. Okay, I'll keep going. Something near and dear to my heart is a K-8 school. To be a part of, working with children for 9 years like that. I want to volunteer and be as available as possible to answer questions or share learning. That does confuse me. Now I forgot what I was going to say. And so I would love to, give back in a way that I think is unique and can support NHS and then our future students at Winnicott.
One of the reasons that I'm running for the school board is that I've always thought that if I got to meet the teachers, the students, the parents, and sort of do a synthesis of what they think, what they want, what they believe, what their future is going to be in the community, I could make a difference. I think I'm a very good communicator. As a result of COVID, I've taught online with my students in Massachusetts, and I have really spent a lot of time mentoring these students as a result of the stress and the hardships that they were going through. And it sort of dawned on me that this was going to be not a challenge so much as a contribution that I could bring to the community here and make a difference. I have researched and arranged content for the courses I've taught in the humanities, and also I have taught French and Latin in various capacities, different levels of students. So I do have a background also in languages that I think could be very helpful, since there is a program that's going to be offered here or debated or discussed, and I think I can really bring a strong background in the content, in figuring out the content for the right content for all people.
Hi. Why am I running? It's such a deep and all-encompassing question. First, let me say I love this town and I love this school, and I grew up in this school system. And I will tell you, all of you students, that the education that you receive here is the most important education of your lives. No matter where you go to high school or college, this is where you learn the important stuff. And as a member of this community and as someone who has loved this school for so long, it breaks my heart to see people on Facebook or in the community trashing the school, or saying that they don't want to send their kids here, or asking what private schools are better, or, I don't know, for any reason suggesting that this isn't the best school on the planet. And as the most wealthy state in America and the most wealthy town in the most wealthy state in America, we should have the best school. And I want to know why people don't think that we do. Maybe we do, and maybe it's a marketing problem and the people in the community don't know that we do. Or maybe we don't, and there are some problems that we can solve. But professionally, I've been doing this for the last 20 years, coming into situations and figuring out what's wrong and what we can do to make it better. And I'm here, and I'm happy to help, and I would love to. So please let me. I've got time. Thanks.
I think everybody in this room would agree with me that 2020 was a very hard year. Remote learning did not work well for my daughter's learning style. As many people know, I had to make a very tough decision, a very personal decision, to move her for the best interest of her education. She has speech issues. I didn't know how she was going to improve her speech, talking behind a mask and listening to a teacher behind a mask. So I made that difficult decision, and I believe every parent needs to decide what's best for their child. we had a great experience at Northampton School. It was nothing against the wonderful teachers that she had. That was just a personal choice we made. Why I'm running is because I hear a lot about teachers' voices, which the teachers are important. It's such a foundation, but I don't often hear to represent the parent and the community. And anybody that knows me know that I like to volunteer and be involved, and I like to find ways to have open dialogue within our community and to do what we can. I think there's a lot of ways that the school could actually integrate more with our beautiful new library. Businesses, I know PAL's looking for donations. I think that businesses want to step up. I know that parents want to step up and support our school. So I just want to be that voice for the parent and for the community, and to use my talent, skills, and resources to help out. Thank you.
So first, thank you all for having us here today. Thank you for PAL and to the student government and Mrs. Carlson and Mrs. Hurley. Why I'm running. So I am the proud mother of an 8th grade student, and she has gone through Northampton School. I also had the pleasure of being the PAL chair for 4 years, and got to see all types of wonderful enrichment activities that go on in the 4 walls of that school. There's so many educational opportunities and wonderful things that are happening at the school. And so as volunteerism is very important to me, I have the time, the capacity, and the willingness to participate. I'd like to be part of the process of putting the policies and the budget together that not only does those enrichment activities, but also will continue to do some of the great educational work that's there. And you know, from a different lens, not being in education, be able to ask some questions to maybe poke some holes in some thoughts and some ideas that we'll have for policy and for the budget. So thank you.
Thank you. Now on to our next question. As a school board member, you will be in a position to support positive changes for Northampton School. How do you envision improving our school experience?
Sure. The first thing is to listen to people, to talk to them, to ask them questions, to have them respond in a non-judgmental way, just so that they say what they think, make them comfortable in saying what they think and what they feel, expressing their concerns, if they have any, and their hopes and their positive assessments, and relaying all of that to as many people as possible so that there's good communication. I think coming out of COVID and all the stress that people have had, students, parents, teachers, administrators, we need to communicate better. And what I just want to bring is the ability to facilitate this communication throughout, at every level. That's my goal.
I want to support you all to have all of the opportunities that you want and need to succeed and thrive. And to me, that looks like having more events, more opportunities like this where you get to dress up and come out and be a part of the community and get outside of what's happening in your school walls and share with the community, because we're here and we love you and we want to support you and we want to see you succeed. And I would love to give more opportunities for that, and more opportunities for the parents and the kids and even the adults that don't have kids to be involved with the kids, because we're all in it together.
My response is very similar. I think open communication, transparency, and opportunities within the community. I've been so honored to be part of the ELO program at Winnicott. It's been a real eye-opener, and that's something that I think, why couldn't we bring that to Northampton School and start? So I'm also like to think outside of the box. So I think I don't profess to know all the answers, but I sure would like to listen and together find a way to improve and grow. Thank you.
So I would venture to say that as a K through 8 school, we have lots of best practices and lots of opportunities, educational opportunities that can be shared across all of our within the school. And also recognizing all of the things that the school is doing really well, but also that there's certain things that perhaps there's room for improvement or places to put best practices together. And I think being able to come in and listen to lots of the presentations that are happening at school board meetings in the past, where we're seeing all the wonderful work that's being done with the math program. And last month, there was the science program, and talking about all of the opportunities that the kids are seeing throughout the school, and having a voice on the school board to make sure that those activities continue, and that we have the ability to look at what we're doing well and what we're not maybe doing so well, and learn from that and continue to grow as a school.
I think there's a lot of different ways a school board member can support a school and a community. To echo what's been said here, I think supporting communication is really something we can do. We have our feet and boots on the ground in soccer field, and I welcome any communication and think that that's a place we can help. I also think I could bring new ideas. When there's problem solving, I think I have different ideas. I think I could ask some questions to help us find a direction if we're ever trying to move forward with something or not sure where to go. I understand education. I understand the shift to competencies. I understand social emotional learning. I understand, the work that's gone in the past 2 years and what schools have gone through. So I empathize and I understand. I think I can lend a voice to maybe some topics that have divided communities over the past couple of years. I believe those things have happened because of lack of communication or misinformation and misconceptions. And so I would love to help right some assumptions or lend a voice to some tricky conversation. I've got the guts to do it. I think it's important for a school board to know their role and to rely on the experts in place, and to show our support in places like the budget, policy, and continue open dialogue with administration and teachers so that we have a good pulse on what's going on.
Thank you. Our next question is, what do you identify as the most important issue surrounding education in Northampton today?
I would say the most important issue in education in Northampton today is resilience and building a strong internal guidance system, because you don't know where you're going to go and what's going to be thrown at you in life, in family, in relationships, anything that you do after this. But I think if we can build a strong reasoning system for you, you'll be able to handle anything that life throws at you. And you'll have all of the skills, whether it's math or reading, all of that lumped together. You'll have everything in your toolbox that you need to handle anything that comes your way, and feel confident that you are smart enough and you're strong enough. And even if you don't know how to figure something out, you know how to figure that out, that you need to ask for help. And you're probably connected to a bunch of people who can help you. And I think that aspect of your education is so important that we can definitely foster here in Northampton, to be thinkers and strong humans in this world.
I think the toughest thing is probably the environment and what we've been through the past 2 years. I know it's probably not made it so easy to focus on your learning, but I also think that we are fortunate to be in one of the best communities that I've ever lived in, and everybody is passionate, and they are all coming from a place of wanting to help. And I think that if we utilize that so that you can focus on education, and I do think that having gone through all of this and persevere, I think this will be one of the strongest generation of future leaders for everything that you've been through. And anything that I can do to help support you in that, I would love to do. Thank you.
From a parent lens, I would say that watching and seeing the Northampton school grow from really putting in a curriculum, a standard curriculum that carries the students through first grade, and as they matriculate into second grade, you're starting to see the same function going through. And as a school board member, being able to set budget and policy that will continue to facilitate that, so that's a really important piece of the school. And I think the kids have been through a lot with COVID, and at this point, there has to be some best practices or some good that will come out of it, and some creative ways that we can learn to live with this if it's going to continue, but to be creative and have the kids have those experiences and those educational opportunities with inside, us still having to deal with COVID. So I'm hopeful that that will continue, that will happen.
Biggest issue for schools today. I think navigating the past 2 years has been unthinkable, yet we did it. I think we as educators have been in survival mode. We have been in recovery mode. I don't know how many have actually stopped to take stock in what we've just accomplished and where we're going, because it's been so much so fast, and we are resilient, and teachers are rescuers, and they have figured it out. However, we are now faced with what we always need more of, which is time, to answer your question. Time to think, time to learn, time to catch our breath, and then time to recalibrate and figure out what are our priorities. Some good has come from this. We can take some steps back and reevaluate and say, what is most important? How are we going to meet kids where they're at? Baselines aren't what they used to be, just because so much has happened, and that's okay. I think that it causes educators to take a step back and say, what's the best way to meet everybody where they're at and move them forward, which is actually a best practice that should be happening across the board. So I have no doubt that we will recover, and there's been a lot of new learning taking place. So I think there have been some silver linings in the problem solving and resilience and independence our students have shown. And now it's time to create some more social opportunities and get back to the good stuff.
I heard the word resilience twice on my right and once on my left.
I like the word.
And I think this is really a good word to make sure it continues to be implemented, because we need to help, we need to give opportunities for learning, for enjoying the community, to for connections between different types of people, different sports, different activities, different, types of learning environments that we provide here. And so I think that basically coming out of COVID and making sure that these opportunities are given and everyone's offered a part to play, I think that's very, very important, that no one feels ostracized or not heard and not heeded. So this is really where I want to contribute. It is to help people, with their resilience, to make a difference in the future of their lives.
Thank you. Our next question is, why do you think you are a strong candidate for the school board?
I think as people know, I like to be involved in the community, and I like to find ways to tie different segments of the community together. That is really my main motivation in running, as well as for obviously academic excellence. So.
I think that I can contribute perhaps a different lens to being part of the school board. In terms of, as we're putting policy and budgets together, but policy, next year the teachers are going to be, their contract is up for negotiation. I work in the health benefits field, so can offer some kind of support for my fellow board members if elected in that arena, and just really to lend a sounding board and a voice for our students and our community and our taxpayers.
Can you frame your question again? Just so I make sure I answer it right.
Why do you think you are a strong candidate for the school board?
Trying to repeat myself, so I just want so I mean, to the point I made earlier, I'm, fluent in parent, teacher, administrator, and community member, so I think that would be helpful with my voice on the school board. I will relentlessly pursue good things for kids, and I can, rest easy on a regular basis knowing that I would do what's best for kids at every cross-section. I think that if you can align yourself and do what's best for kids, you are more times than not doing the right thing. And I think I can be a voice for that on the school board.
So my strong suit is basically content. I have taught humanities courses, French, Latin, and philosophy, ethics for the last 35 years. And I really know how to change when something doesn't work out as well as as it was expected. So I just have this ability to assess things and make things better all the time. And this is really what I think I can contribute and will contribute to this school board and to this school district.
What I would bring is a kind of superpower in which I love to look into a business or a system or a structure and see what's working and other places where the cracks might be. And I have this knack of knowing how to fix it or patch it or rebuild it. I love spreadsheets and math and budgets, and I love to create ideal systems and situations for learning, for thriving, for success. And I would bring my experience in doing this for, I've been doing this for, as I said earlier, over 20 years professionally, but it's just sort of who I am. I've always been very curious, and I want to know how things work, and I want to know how they can work better. And even at Northampton School, I don't know if you still have Odyssey of the Mind, but there are these brainy competitions where you have to solve problems and create mouse traps out of a stick of gum.
Yeah.
That was my favorite thing, and I see this as a giant one of those, and I would love to solve this mousetrap for you and with you and make it the best one that we can, because why not? We're here. Let's do it.
Thank you. Our next question is, what are your views on our school budget?
Was that me? So our school budget, I think we are very, very, very fortunate. We live in a community that is extremely supportive of our school. We have a bigger budget as a school than we do for the town. So we're super fortunate, and I think if you talk to any of many, many, many of the community members, they want to continue that amount of excellence for our school. So they're willing to put forth their tax dollars to make sure that this is a fantastic school. As a school board member, in terms of the budget, we do need to be fiscally responsible. So we need to make sure that the money is going where it needs to go to enrich the educational opportunity of our students and not to just, willy-nilly. So it really needs to have an eye that will look at it and see what is it that we need and what is it that is going to be fiscally responsible for our taxpayers, but still getting the best education for our students.
I echo that. Well said. I think a budget should always tell the story of the priorities of the school. A budget should have money in places that you want to grow. Money should have places, a budget should have money in places where you want to focus and grow as a school, where you want to maybe professional development is a priority for the school, so money should be there. Maybe developing your literacy is a place, money should be there. So it needs to be proactively in place so that it can support whatever priorities are for this year and future years. You need to have some forethought, I think, in 1, 2, 3-year plans on how it can be digestible for taxpayers. Taxes keep getting higher, just how it goes. But, you know, we want the community to want to support that and also feel respected at the same time. So it's important to make those decisions and be thoughtful and look a few years out as you're developing a budget.
First thing I want to say is I attended the meeting on Tuesday a week ago, and I was impressed by the level of thoroughness that, you know, people were very thorough in how they analyzed and presented the budget items that were discussed, and some amendments or some changes were made in the warrant articles. I think this was a very helpful intro to how budgeting happens, and I think that it's indicative of the fact that the people of this town are very, very dedicated to providing the best education to their children and to their neighbors. So I look at the sort of high level of sophistication and professionalism, and I would certainly want to continue on that trend.
Yes to everything that's been said already. And as I said earlier, I love budgets and spreadsheets, but I also love creative problem solving. So if there is a situation that we need more money for, I would love to find a way to do it and not have to say no because we haven't budgeted for it, or it's not in the budget at the right amount, or any situation that might arrive. I think that as a community, and a town, we're always going to rise to meet the needs of our people, and our kids are definitely our people. And I think that, you know, as a caring, compassionate community, we're going to both look out for the taxpayers and make sure that we're making responsible choices and suggesting appropriate funding for the appropriate things, but also if we have to extend in some direction, we'll also have the flexibility for that within reason, because we're all in this together and we'll figure it out and we'll find a way.
Thank you. I agree with what has been said. I attended the school deliberative and really enjoyed the thorough walkthrough of the budget. There were things that I learned that I didn't know. I think it's easy to make an assumption, but I think you have to be part of the full process to fully understand what those numbers equate to. I know one thing that kind of shocked me, that I was a little surprised to learn, was about the EA positions, because I know the EAs are wonderful. I didn't even know that they were just part of the, there for IEP kids, but I digress. I think the point is, though, that we are in hard times for our taxpayers, so we have to at least be cognizant, and where we can be fiscally conservative, I think we do need to be fiscally conservative. So it's hard not knowing the full picture to say, but I would very much like to be part of the process, both as the voice for the parents and for the best interest of the students.
Thank you. Our last question for tonight is, what are your beliefs about the place of extracurricular activity offerings for students? For example, athletics, field trips, and clubs, and how should those be funded?
How should they be funded? So my beliefs on extracurricular activities is that as many as you can do, the better. I think that great learning happens outside the four walls of a school. I think the more authentic you can make learning by taking kids on field trips and letting them actually see the learning in an authentic, real way really drives home an understanding that you can't replicate in a classroom. So I also think that with extracurricular activities, whether they're athletic, band, chorus, whatever they are, some people find their niche there, and for some that is their greatest strength, and that's where they shine. And the more opportunities where we can show kids they shine in and out of the classroom, the better. I think self-awareness and self-esteem are two of the greatest things we can harness as humans, and extracurriculars can be a place to do that. As far as funding goes, there's a variety of ways to raise and appropriate money for things like that. It can come from your budget, especially if you have things you want to do and plan ahead for. You can fundraise. I know that you have a strong parent association that can donate. There's a lot of different ways to dig up the money, and when there's a will, there's a way.
I personally believe that having a lot of different activities to choose from for the students is absolutely vital. There's so many different interests from for the kids and the parents and their siblings to be connected and encourage each other. I think that's something I definitely want to pursue and make sure is available to the students. I was very interested at the hearing the other day on Tuesday last week that a parent showed up and said that he wanted to contribute monies if it was going to be helpful to the furthering of the educational opportunities. And so I think we can really do a lot in that field of creating these opportunities for extracurricular activities.
I'm not going to disagree with anybody that's spoken so far. Yes, extracurriculars, field trips, let's do everything. I have friends from Northampton School that I know that there were certain field trips that changed the course of their lives. For me, we went to a trip to the Boston Museum of Fine Arts, and that changed my life. I ended up going to their school later. You know, it's the location that we're in and the vast resources that we have for field trips, for extracurriculars, for experts to come in and teach things. I mean, there are people in the community who are world-renowned, and I would love to take advantage of what we have to bring to our students. And whether the money comes from budgets or through fundraising or private donations or, you know, I'm sure there's money out there if we look for it creatively. As I said before about budgeting, there's money out there and we can find it and we can do some great things with it and really learn some new things and have some new experiences that you wouldn't have otherwise. So I would love to do it all. Let's try everything.
Like they say, variety is a spice of life. I think that extracurriculars really help students to find their interests. Maybe they try something and they don't like it, but then they know. PAL is an amazing group, and I know they have dedicated parents that would gladly help fund trips. Fundraising in and of itself is an experience that is a learning experience. Some of my favorite memories from school were class trips, especially the one to DC. I was a little disappointed to see that get cut, and I think there's ways we can bring experiences like that back through PAL, through fundraising, and again, the community. I think we have an amazing community that would love to help both residents and business owners. If given the opportunity, I think we can make it happen together.
So I will also agree that extracurricular activities are fantastic, whether they be sporting events or art projects or the D&D club. It gives kids an opportunity to be part of something, to be part of a group, to make new friends, maybe interact with kids that they don't normally see on a regular basis that aren't in their class. So I completely agree that the more the better. Our former school boards in many years past have done a great service to our kids in terms of funding as part of the budget, lots of curriculum-based field trips. So I think in terms of funding, that can be there for any creative opportunities that the teachers will want to come up with. And as having been the co-chair of PAL, we saw all kinds of teachers come in with awesome creative artists in residence. We had someone come in and they did a club where they they grew vegetables in some terrarium or something. There's all kinds of fantastic opportunities for kids to do different things as part of a group. And between the fantastic work that the PAL board does and the PAL community does, raising funds, there's money there that can make all of this happen. So, like I said, more the better.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fenway. Good evening. My name is Rebecca Carlson. I'm the curriculum coordinator here at Northampton School and the co-advisor along with Ms. Herlihy for student government. And I feel a very proud teacher parent moment right now with these kids. So thank you so much. You guys have done such a wonderful job. Thank you. So we are transitioning now to the part of the evening where our audience is invited to ask questions of our candidates. We're going to continue on with the same process where I'll be bumping it on down the line so that everyone has equal amounts of think time. We're also going to be mindful of time. Ms. Herlihy will continue on with the yellow and red card system that seems to be working pretty well tonight. And I will also ask anyone from the audience who has a question just to please direct the question towards the candidates. They're the highlight of our night tonight, so we'll ask that all questions be asked of them. So I'll invite anyone who would like to come up to the mic if there's a question to be asked. I am a good teacher for wait time. A little wait time. Yeah, come on up.
What is your take on improving mental health help for students?
Could you repeat the question one more time, just nice and loud?
What is your take on improving mental health help for students?
Great job, thank you, great question. So, Mr. Jendray, I'll ask you to answer that first.
That's a tough one. Having a psychologist available to them is the first thing. Then obviously there are several issues of privacy that need to be heeded, and it's a tough line. I've dealt with it a few times when I suspected that a student was having family problems and turmoil, and I had to relay this to the school board or the college administrators. Now, I honestly believe that after COVID, we have to address the stress that students have had and the types of mental issues that they are willing to discuss. So the more they're willing to discuss things, the better. And I think that there's a one-on-one part that needs to be kept in place, because that's each student having an issue. But also, every student has to understand that most of their issues are shared also by others who are in the same boat, basically. And so the more they understand that they're not unique, the better for all, for them and for us.
I would start by looking at what resources we have available already, how many counselors you have in your school, what their qualifications are, what is being done already, because I don't know. So that's where I would start. And then, depending on the findings there, I would probably, just based on my own hunch, bring in some extra support, whether that be training some students as peer support so that you have someone that you can go to. Maybe you're not having like such a severe situation that you need a medical professional. Maybe you just need someone to talk to. So maybe we can train some 8th graders to be really good listeners and to know how to then go to an adult when that's the next step. Or we bring in an additional team of counselors and make time available. We could have groups where kids can come together. We could have different extracurriculars where, you know, maybe you're just feeling lonely and you want to be a part of something. So maybe it's a craft group after school where you can just come and show up and know that you have a safe place to be. I think if we can create more safe situations for kids to share with each other and with trained adults who are prepared and ready to handle the weight and consequences of these situations and these conversations, I think that's the only way we're going to heal and get through this and move forward. Thanks.
I'm glad you asked the question. I think it's a very important question, and even asking the question is the first step. I think we have to be willing to talk about things, to remove stigma so that students know that they can talk about these things and they won't be judged. And I think we find people in the school, maybe outside of the school, that are known, that is a resource that they can go to and talk. But really open dialogue and knowing that you can talk about any concerns you have is the number one step.
So I first think that we need to applaud the counselors and the staff that we have in the school right now, because this obviously has been hard on everybody, but certainly on the kids, and they've done a fantastic job to make sure that they're getting a lot of the resources that they need inside of the school. So for that, I'd say thank you. I would also say that as this continues, we're in our third school year, we as a community and a school community might want to start to think of some creative ways that we can live with this but get back to normal. So start having school concerts again, even if they have to be outside. Have the kids have things to look forward to, because I think if the more they spend time with each other, with people being able to see them doing the things that they love to do and showcase their talents, then it's soul healing. So.
That's a great question. And it's a loaded question. It comes with a big answer, but I'll be quick. I think that education's different today and than it was in the past, and I think one of the changes is our understanding now about the importance of social emotional well-being, the importance of mental health, and understanding that that's the plate that everything else sits on. So you need to have that solid foundation in place for the learning to happen. So anyone who's motivated about the academic success, you do have to be in favor of that social emotional support. That comes in a lot of ways. There are, we've always had multi-tiered systems of support for things like literacy, right? If I'm having a hard time reading, I can get some reading support, I can get some goals. But with mental health, you can do the same. And, I believe there's a lot of pieces that are already in place, and I think districts are constantly working to improve Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 when it comes to mental health. You look at Tier 1 and you hope that your school counselors and classroom teachers are providing instruction around self-regulation, self-awareness, problem solving, collaboration, all of the pieces that make us whole. And then, you look into Tier 2 and you want opportunities for students to join friendship groups or to process grief together if that's something they have in common, or maybe dynamics at home are changing so they get some support more specific. You want to make sure those pieces are in place. And then there's another tier of support where maybe school psychologists or social workers can support whole families through challenges. And I think trauma-informed practices, we know more about ways to support people through the trauma they've been through, and we've all had different kinds of trauma. I think all of those initiatives that are starting to come about, we should take those opportunities to round out our support and education for families and students.
Any other questions from the audience? Okay, well, I think that we'll be, oh, please.
Good evening. Thanks for everyone's efforts for the school system. So learning disabilities aren't even called learning disabilities. I would think it's something like learning ability uniqueness, and I grew up in a family with some learning ability uniqueness. But what is your feeling on identifying, at least realizing there might be some students that learn at different rates, and also giving them the resources that they need, because often those children, as previously in our generation, grew up just being pulled into, and held back often without giving the necessary resources to learn at their abilities or in their styles. So everyone learns in different ways, so I think everyone acknowledges that. What is your kind of feeling on how to manage that?
Thank you for that. Ms. Marsh, I'll have you begin.
Sure. So that's an excellent question. And I think even a step beyond that, kids have different learning styles. So even within a classroom, you have the uniquely challenged, let's say, but also kids are learning, some are visual learners, some are audio learners. And so I think that the challenge here is to give extra support in the way that is the most supportive for those students. So let's say, for example, some kids have ADHD. So a student that has ADHD might benefit from some headphones to block out the sound that's distracting them. Or, there's different things that we can do to kind of bring everybody up to the same basis level that can give them the chance. If they need additional support, as in a private tutor or a caregiver in the classroom, that's a different conversation and a different level, but one we're certainly open to, as everyone's education is of the utmost importance. So I would hate to see somebody fall through the cracks because we didn't make every effort to give them the right education in the way that they can receive it. I hope that answers your question.
From my experience, NHS teachers and EAs really do a great job about this. My daughter's kindergarten teacher, she contacted me and told me that my daughter needed a little speech help. And so together we made a plan. And so it all comes back to communication. I really think so much in life, communication is key. I think that if the teacher and the EA in the classroom can see some area that needs attention, extra attention, if they can have a communication with the parent and make a plan.
So I think from the sheer size of our town, we're very fortunate in the aspect that it is a school that offers us the ability to have a smaller classroom size. And the school boards and the school has done a great job in maintaining that level of a small class size. So therefore, the teachers and the EAs that are in the classroom are able to identify kids that perhaps will need a little extra help or special help. And that always have been very committed in terms of budget and policy and resources to make sure that the kids have what they need from what I have seen. And then I think that although it's been hard for me as a parent to understand, our school has gone into a competency-based learning so that kids are able to kind of learn at their own pace, and they're able to become efficient in a competency versus being held to a grade and a task. So I think that's also kind of identifying those kids that might need some extra support. So I think that's great work to continue.
I'll jump right on the back of that because I agree. So, the short answer is the traditional model of education where when you're in third grade, you need to learn your multiplication because that's what we do in third grade, really is and needs to be blown up because that teaches to the middle of your class and it leaves a lot out. And competency-based education forces us to really look at the student individually and say, where is that student? It also forces your teachers to really understand the progression of skills. Where is that kid at? What do they need next? And so if you really lean into that model, special education almost it looks very different. I think there's something to be said for all kids have unique needs. And I think that it's up to teachers to kind of figure out what works for them, and then also for students to know their own learning styles and then be able to advocate for themselves. They have a voice in how they learn. They can speak up for themselves and say, I know myself as a learner, this is what I need, and in collaboration with the classroom teacher, we should be able to meet kids' needs and progress them forward. So short answer, CBE is kind of your best angle to take and to focus through what kids can do. I think for a long time we've been in a deficit model of what kids can't do, and I think it's a dangerous angle to take, and it sends a dangerous message to kids. So I think focusing on what they can do and moving them forward is always your best route.
So I'm really impressed by the fact that we have small classes here and 11 to 14 students per class, and all the extra help that they get, teachers and the kids when they have their individual education plans in place. I think the more parents hear of that option, the more they will interact with the teachers and the school district, the school in general. And I think as a result of that, it's going to tailor education to the needs of the child. And the parent, the child, and the student, the child, the parent, and the teachers will actually be a team. And the more this happens, the better it is, because the child feels the support, and whatever issue pops up, they will air it. They will not be afraid to talk about it. And it's just going to be conducive to their own growth. I think we have an amazing system with these small class sizes. This is, I think, fantastic, and this is an incredible something that we have.
Yes, please.
Hey everyone, I'm Amy Hyatt. I just wanted to thank you all for volunteering your time and running for the school board. It's really fantastic. I have a question about getting back to normal. I heard Marianne talk about, how can we live with this thing? I heard Henry in the beginning of the meeting talking about the Winnicott School Board taking up masking next week. We all, I'm sure, saw in the paper that Stratum is opting out of, going mask optional. And I'm wondering if what you see your role as school board members in this issue and in this issue of getting back to normal. I think it's much easier to close things down than it is to open things up. And so just wondering how you see the next 6 months to a year going, and what the school board's role is.
Ms. Schultz, to begin this one?
Sure. So as we've heard and we know, the school board really looks at policy and the budget. So obviously I do think that this is an issue that the school board would weigh in on. I personally think it's time to get back to normal. I think our kids' lives have been disrupted for way too long. I think there's ways that we can do it to meet in the middle. I don't think it has to be one extreme or the other. I know there are schools, actually, where my daughter goes to school. They had masks last year. They only had to wear them when they couldn't distance, but when they were at their desk, 6 feet apart, then they didn't have to wear them. And we have small class size, so I don't know why we couldn't do something like that. Of course, I won't really know until I hear all the details. But I do think, and then now masks are optional, and we're seeing it all over the country where masks are now going to optional and not required. I personally miss seeing people's smiling faces. So I think that COVID is here. I think it's going to be, I don't think it's going to just magically go away. And I really think for our kids' sake and for their mental well-being, it's time to get back to normal.
So I think we can all agree that nobody picks out their outfit in the morning and says, yes, I get to put this on with it. Nobody likes the mask.
Speak for yourself. I'm sure.
I have it in pink and
good.
blue. And, nobody wants to wear the mask. And I think as a school board, or the new school board, whomever that may be, their position and job is to take a look at the metrics that are set forth as to what's going to keep the majority of the school safe. I know that masks are becoming optional all over the place. I think our school board's probably going to be looking at it at the next meeting. I would venture to say that it's time. Things have changed. The little ones can be vaccinated now if their families so choose. I think that hospital rates are down, but it is still here. So I think that the school board's role is going to really to take a look at what those metrics are and allow us to put a policy in place that will keep everyone safe and maybe have a new norm that's, you know, a little less restrictive.
I will give a plug for the March 7th board meeting coming up because I would love anybody to come and share their thinking, because as a current board member at that meeting, I would love to hear from the community. I don't know if this is a popular thought. I don't think we'll ever be back to normal. I think our normal has changed, and I think that's okay. I think that what we just endured for the past couple of years will change us in a variety of ways, and there's things that needed to change. So, you know, we might be okay with that. And I believe in people, and I believe in kids, and I think we'll be all right. I tend to be someone who leans on data and leans on science. I'm a lot of things. I've been called a lot of things, but never an expert in disease or doctor, and I am not now and never have been in a position where I think I know more. So I tend to lean on science. What does it tell us? Data's changed and science has changed. You know, when I was wiping down my groceries with Clorox wipes, I did that. We didn't know, and I didn't know what to expect, and now there's more, and I understand better. We are immunized if we choose to be. Our children, for the most part, are, aside from preschool, which is to be considered. You know, things have changed from what they were. So I think it's time for our decisions to line up with the current standing as far as what we know, and when you know better, do better, and make those changes, I guess, in tandem with science.
So I think we're a wealthy community. People are educated. The parents are educated. They have a certain sense of what they think and what others fear and think. And I think we have to have a bunch of conversations between the parents, the teachers, and also hear the kids out on how they can do things slightly differently, maybe transition more to more options. And my idea is to make parents more involved in the discussion.
I would agree. This is a very important conversation, and as someone who personally, my health has been greatly affected by having COVID, I'm scared for everybody to take their mask off and go to school, because it would be horrible if they had neurological problems or if it damaged their young brains like it does. You know, COVID isn't just the flu, and it's a crazy disease that we don't know what its long-term effects are yet. So as far as masking goes, I would listen to the superintendent. I would listen to the people who are doing the research at a higher level than I am. And I would also give people the personal agency to decide. You know, if we decide to go no masks, you can still wear a mask if you want to, and do everything we can so that people can feel as safe and confident as they can as the information is changing.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions from the audience this evening? Yeah, please.
I know everyone's talking about children, but I had a quick question on some of your teacher retention strategies that you would have, just to keep these classrooms nice and small and to keep the teachers here. My son's only 3, so I'm new here, but I just wanted to know if you had any specific strategies to keep the teachers at our school or to encourage more teachers to come to our school. Thank you.
Ms. Von Jess, you'll be up first for this one.
So I personally think that, you know, as a board member, I'm going to look to our administration to make sure that they're offering, you know, suggestions, whether they be professional development or opportunities for our teachers to excel in a field or in a space that they would like to maybe get some additional education on. I think this is a fantastic school, but I don't work here. So I know that when I look at the contract, it's got fantastic benefits, and there's lots to encourage a teacher to want to teach here. And I think that we need, as a board, to continue to grow and to grow that and to make sure that we're supporting that. And then look for the administration as they come with some creative ideas about how to retain, how to attract new talent to come in to teach here, and be able to, again, fiscally responsible, see what we can do to make that happen.
I think, to your point, something you can do as a board member is to support and negotiate a strong contract. I know that happens next year, and I encourage everybody to always vote in support for your teachers' contracts. It's a vote of confidence in the hard work that they do every day. I think a healthy climate and culture in a building is how you keep teachers, and it's how you keep good teachers. And I think that teachers that are happy are more willing to want to go the extra mile and work hard. I think happy teachers equal happy kids. So I believe firmly in supporting in any way we can the climate and culture of the building, supporting administration in doing so, getting a pulse for how teachers are doing, being a part of leadership meetings where we can be, or interview processes, having a foot on the ground as well, so that teachers want to be here. I think that Northampton has a strong reputation. I would imagine that in any job posting you have upwards of 50 to 100 applications. I know that we do over in Stratham, right next door. So I think that teachers are always looking to be a part of a strong school. But word of mouth is powerful. So happy teachers tell their happy teacher friends, and that's how you get more. So whatever we can do to support the health of the building, I think is a role for the board.
Yeah, word of mouth and the good reputation of this school is essential and established in reality. I think that the more people can express their views as to, honestly in negotiations between the administration and the future teachers or the current teachers, all of this is very important. I think transparency and honesty is what's going to retain our teachers.
I would also add to make sure that we're paying them a living wage. This is an expensive place to live, and I would hate that our teachers can't afford to live in the community that they're serving. And I think that there are ways that we can incorporate the teachers more into our community, and maybe find a way for more recognition and community support for the teachers. I think that would be really important, not only for the teachers, but also for the community to get to know what great teachers we have, because that seems to be a bit of a disconnect within the town.
Like Marianne said, I think I would default to the administration as far as what they're hearing, what teachers need for support. As a board member, I know I would reach out to PAL, who is very active, and they do a lot of things to thank our teachers. I think as a community, we can do a better job thanking our teachers and appreciating them. Just as it's been hard on our students, it's been hard on our teachers. And one thing that was mentioned earlier and is mental health. And I think we also need to be cognizant of the mental health of our teachers and do what we can to make them feel supported and appreciated.
Other questions from our audience this evening? Okay, well, on behalf of student government and on behalf of PAL, we would like to thank everyone for coming out. It was so wonderful to have such an audience here, and thank you so much to everyone who's watching from home as well. Thank you for our candidates for coming, for running for school board. We appreciate your dedication to this town, this community so very much, and good luck to everyone on election day. So that with that, we'll call it a night. Thank you so much, everyone.
All right.
Very good.